Hello and welcome to another ship review. Today we will talk about Merlin. Merlin is Caldari Tech 1 combat frigate. Surprisingly quite a popular one. I don't really see why, because in my opinion this is probably the worst, or at least one of the worst Tech 1 frigates for solo PvP. You can see it on the win rates, but even in general, just speaking from experience and without even looking at win rates, I can tell you that it's not that great. What are the problems? Well, first of all, it's not flexible. Usually you have a choice between two weapon systems, but Merlin is designed in a way that railguns just don't really work. You have to fit shield extender on Merlin generally, and after that you have only one web, and Merlin is very slow, so your control is poor, and your DPS with railguns scrum range is also quite poor. So I'm honestly quite generous here by highlighting scrum kiting as a off-meta archetype. I don't think it's really that viable, to be honest. So essentially you're locked into brawling and with blasters. And for brawling, the biggest problem is that you have very poor control. So essentially you kind of need to overwhelm your opponent with damage immediately. Which kind of further limits your engagement profile, because you really want to be in position, not out of position. Out of position, Blaster Merlin is horrible. And fighting against destroyers is not really an option either, because your damage mitigation is very poor. Your speed is bad, your control is not great, and your signature radius is quite large. So as you can see, it scores practically 0 against Navy destroyers and quite poor against Tech 1 destroyers as well. Eventually it leads to very narrow engagement profile. Essentially, you can fight reliably only Tech 1 frigates and some Navy frigates only if you are in position, which is just not that good value for money considering how many other options you have in Tech 1 frigates overall. So I will show you really just one feat that I think is viable for Merlin and what you can use if you really want to fly this ship. And this is the feat. This is almost standard rolling Merlin, but with double webs instead of scrum web. I feel like Merlin really needs double webs to be competitive. Mm, The idea is that you sit in a complex in position. When someone comes, you put double webs and your control will be quite good, and try to overwhelm with your void damage. Your tank and DPS is quite competitive, just on pure numbers. 6k HP and 350 DPS is quite good. This is essentially the same idea as with double web Comet. It works against all Tech 1 frigates except kiters, and against scrum kiting and web kiting Navy frigates as well. Brawling Navy frigates probably will just kill you, just on tank to DPS, and kiters will be able to leave. It does not work against destroyers, because the time to kill against destroyers is too long, and very likely your opponent will just notice that you do not have a web, you do not have a scrum, and they will be able to just leave if you somehow manage to win a DPS race. But as a general rule, this doesn't work against destroyers. Nevertheless, I feel like this is the maximum engagement profile that you can squeeze out of Merlin. I tried it a while ago and I scored, I think, more than 10 kills before I got killed. The fights are not that interesting because you're essentially just clicking approach, and when you pray that your opponent doesn't notice that you don't have a scrum. But I think this is the maximum that you can get out of Merlin if you want to fly this ship. Okay, I hope you found it useful, and I will see you in the next ship reviews.